The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, welcome everyone to today's webinar titled How an Automated DITA Conversion Can Help Your Authoring Team. My name is Brian Tipper, I'm the CEO here at Stilo, and I'm sitting alongside Jacob Brennan, our Technical Sales Product Specialist and your presenter for today. Also on our panel is Helen St. Denis, our Conversion Services Manager. Okay, so we're going to go through some housekeeping rules before we begin. So it's going to be a short 30-minute webinar. And first off, one of the rules is that everyone's going to be muted throughout the duration of the webinar. If you have any technical questions, you can submit them via the Q&A panel. And please note that we will answer all questions at the end of the webinar. Next, Helen will be monitoring and handling all technical issues and general questions via the chat module. You can communicate with her directly by messaging the user named Stilo International. And then finally, the webinar will be recorded. A link to the recording will be emailed to everyone that registered, and this will happen approximately 1 hour after the webinar concludes. So without further ado, I'd like to hand the mic over to your presenter, Jacob Brennan.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Brian. Let's start out with just a quick little introduction to our company here. So Stilo has been in the structured content processing industry for around 30 years now, and we've brought to market specialist content processing tools. First product we have here is called Omnimark, which is a programming language used for manipulating XML content, publishing it, and enriching it. Next, we have Optimizer, which is a tool to help analyze DITA content collections and identify reuse opportunities. And then lastly, we have our newest one called Analyzer, which is an interactive platform enabling users to identify content reuse across multiple source formats and report potential cost savings. And then at the bottom here, we have some of our migrate customers, which is our automated DITA conversion solution. So if I can just show how our migrate system does this automated conversion. So Migrate is the world's first cloud content conversion service and has been used by organizations for over 10 years now. Migrate can be used to convert various source formats such as FrameMaker, Word, RoboHelp, InDesign, HTML, and XML. So the first step there is to upload your document set, which can be as many files as you'd like. Once your documents are uploaded, Stilo will pre-configure a portal and then build out a rule set which targets the custom XML or DITA standards specified. Next, Migrate will go through, analyze your content, in which it will create an intermediate XML format that is mapping styles, processing tables, handling equations, and looking at conditional text patterns and context matching. The characteristics identified through this analysis are then annotated and mapped to the target DITA. Migrate works as a pay-as-you system, so the analysis will also calculate the cost to convert each document using what we call our conversion credits. So once the user accepts the conversion charges, Migrate will then proceed with converting your document. The conversion is schema-driven, so it always generates a valid DITA. Now, if the DITA output is not quite right, changes can be made in the rules editor, and then the document can be put back through and reconverted at no additional cost. So really, Migrate gives you the capability to guide your conversion to the required output, making sure that you get exactly what you want out of your conversion. Now, once your conversion is completed, you can download the content to your desktop for QAing, or it can be directly integrated into your CCMS. In terms of producing DITA, we can get all sorts of granularity. We can produce DITA topics, specialized topics, and DITA maps. So what really sets Migrate apart from the traditional outsourced or in-house conversion solutions are the high levels of automation that can be achieved. So that's how we do our automated conversion. But what I'd really like to focus on today is how this approach could help your authoring team specifically. So each and every author has a different way of getting their information across, and it could take the form of different styles. I'm sure we've all run into the situation with some collaborative work where everyone is trying to fit their own styles together, and none of it really meshes together properly. From my own personal experience, when I was finishing my university career here at the University of Ottawa, we had plenty of large projects that needed to be completed in groups. So I remember specifically once where I was in a group with 3 other people, and earlier on we had gone through and divided all of our work up into our fair portions and split up to work on it. And then before the due date, we came back together to try and put everything back together and get it into the correct report format. Everything was going great. And then right before the deadline, I looked at this document and couldn't really make sense of it. Everyone had a different way of trying to get their ideas across to the reader. And most importantly, at the time, it did not fit the format that our professor had specifically asked for. So to fix this, I ended up having to go through it all last minute and try and fix it up. I did not actually have to change any of the actual content. I was just trying to get everyone's content to fit the specific format and make it all look the way that it's supposed to and fit the correct styling. Really like to highlight that out of this story, the content was all good. And we ended up going through and getting a pretty good grade on that report. It was just that the way that each and every different group member tried to get their stuff across was in a different way, and we had to try and get it all into one coherent style. While working in your own organizations, I'm sure many can relate to this particular story. With Migrate, we can avoid these issues. Instead of creating a specific criteria like that the documents have to adhere to, much like what the professor was trying to do in the story, Migrate can adapt to the document based on how it's already authored. So Migrate can allow for easy conversion of everyone's different styles. Another big advantage for your authoring team while using an automated conversion process is that the authors can use the tools that are most familiar to them. Again, when I came out of school, started working here at Stilo, I was completely new to a lot of these software such as FrameMaker and RoboHelp. Now that I've spent some more time with them and I have a better understanding of how to use them, it's a little bit easier, but I'm sure that there are a lot of people in the same boat as me that are just getting into this industry. With Migrate, the author can choose what type of format they're most comfortable with and have the most experience with. So I know a lot of people coming out of school, everyone has some experience with Microsoft Office apps, and they can continue to create their documents using that if that's what they feel most comfortable in. Some people who may have been in the industry for a while and feel more comfortable using a tool, such as FrameMaker, they can also go through and use whatever they find is most comfortable for them. Now that I've spent some more time with these tools and have a better grasp on how they work, they are great tools, but the main advantage with an automated conversion is the time that can be saved and the costs associated with that saved time. So obviously, once you've changed everything over to DITA, you'll want to continually author and update. But one of the issues that comes with that is teaching your authors how to use DITA. And again, that does take time. So for example, if you needed a new document from scratch and you have a newer author that can do that but might not be as experienced in DITA, maybe they can go through and create this document using the software that they're most comfortable with and then convert it using Migrate, and then any updates to your previous DITA could be handled by a more experienced author. With Migrate, your authors can continue to make the best possible content without worrying about how they're doing it. They're more worried about what they're making and not how they're authoring it. So a really good example of how Migrate can save a lot of time and headaches as well is through acquisitions of new content. Normally in-house, you would need to do a lot of pre and post-conversion cleanup to try and make these documents adhere to previous source content. If we want to go back to my example from before, it'd be much like what our professor, it'd be much like me trying to go back and try and change everything around last minute to follow the criteria laid out by my professor at the time. This content may even be in a foreign source format that your team is not familiar with. With Migrate, we can import whatever you may have and ensure that the rules we put in place convert it exactly to your specifications. Once again, the main benefit of this type of conversion is your saved time and the saved manpower behind that. The automation we can achieve through Migrate will speed up your conversion process, whether you undertake the conversion work yourself or allow Stilo to do the work for you. We can adapt to the document, meaning we do not need to make the document adapt to us. So I have a little bit of a demo here showing how we have two different documents that I've created just using our OmniMark sample documentation. And they've been authored slightly differently. And I have a rule set to convert one of them, and then we would have to change the rule set around to try and convert the other one. So let's just go through them real quick here and see what the differences are. So in this first document here, we've got all of our headings created here using the handy little bar at the top of your Microsoft Word banner up here at the top. So this one's heading 1, then we've got our heading 2 and our heading 3. Also in this document, we've got some numbered lists going on over here. We've got some weird padding that we have to strip out as well, these indentations and spaces over here. We do have some step content, and those have just been denoted with a bold step, and then the number, and then your period, and then the actual step content in there as well. So this is a very small document. So let's look in the next one and see the differences between. So we'll pull this across, and one of the biggest differences here is that with our headings, they didn't actually use the banner at the top. Instead, they've gone through and their top level headings, so they're heading 1, have just been denoted using a bold font and a 24-point font. So they've just upscaled the font and made it look different. Same thing with their second level headings, except those are just slightly smaller at 16.5. And then we've got a 12.5-point font here as well for our third levels. We've got some code in here that has been shown using our a different font, our Courier font. And then our numbered lists have been done slightly differently. I'd never seen this before until I started working here, but essentially what they'd done here was they'd put all of their ordered content into, or their ordered list content into a table, and put the numbers over on the left-hand side and the actual content or your actual steps over here on the right-hand side. And then they just hid the borders. It's a different way of doing things. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means that we need to pick up on that and allow Migrate to pick that up and do what it needs to do with it properly. There's not a lot else different in here. There is a bulleted list in here. There is steps again. So those rules that we would have made earlier for the last document should apply as well. And then last but not least, at the very bottom here, we have a some UI controls as well in here. So again, another benefit for your automated DITA conversion is that sometimes adding in things like that, adding some things in, can be a lot easier than your traditional outsourced or in-house conversion processes, because with Migrate, this actually was quite easy for us to get to look right. So let's go over to Migrate and we'll see how the rules apply, and then we'll get the rules to apply to our second document. So I'll pull this across here. This is the Migrate Documents tab. This is the first thing that you see when you log into your Migrate portal. And as you can see, I've already got both of them uploaded here. so let's just click on the ActiveX one here, which is the first one I showed. And so when I click on that, it shows us all of our information here. You've got your characters, your words, your lines, your paragraphs, so on and so forth. The only other thing of note here is that we are going to be targeting DITA 1.3 for today. So if we just hit the Edit Rules button here, it'll open up our rules editor in Migrate in a new window. So as it's opening that, it is creating this intermediate format here on the left-hand side, which can show us how our rules are applying to the document. On the right-hand side here, we've got all of our information showing up. So if we scroll over, we can look at how our rules apply. So any rule that is white here, we can see that it is being picked up in this document. So for this one, we have deleted a lot of our empty spaces. We've deleted our list markers because those will be generated later in DITA. And like I said earlier, with our topics, our first level topic is being picked up because the style is heading 1. That's just, it picked up, it was transferred over from the Word document, and we can pick it up very easily with Migrate and then annotate it with our first level topic over here. The bullet list is not being picked up in this one. The ordered list is, and for this one specifically, all I had to do was anything following the number that wasn't a step. The content does not have a step in it. Similarly, anything that started with a bolded step marker, it is a ordered step content. We delete the step heading because that'll be generated in DITA, and our code phrase has been picked up. Again, that's just with our different font, our courier font there. So those rules all applied, and let's go over to our other one. We can upload our new one and change our rules to make sure that we adapt to the new style of the new document. So if we just hit our upload button over here at the left, we can select files, and then I can put in the second file that I have here, make sure that it is a docx file, and hit upload. As it's uploading, Migrate's going through and doing that analysis report, getting us all the information that we needed out of it, and calculating our credits. So if we just hit on the name again, we can see all of our info. And what I like to do is just accept the charges right away. As you can see, it's red right now, so you can click. Make sure that your credits, they'll ask again to make sure that you're not, that you're sure about it. You can hit accept again, and now they're black. We will put the rule set that I had, which is just named after me, and then we will target it with a DITA 1.3 book map. And now we can look at the rules. So let's hit the edit rules button and see how these rules apply. As it takes a couple seconds to open up here. So we can go over to our rules and see that our first two did apply, but now our topic 1 is no longer applying. That is supposed to be our about batch compiler heading, and that just wasn't being picked up because it is not styled with the heading 1. So that is a pretty easy fix. All that we have to do is we have a group of tests, and then we will have some property tests that we add in here, and we'll just make sure that the font weight is bolded and the font size is 24, just like before. So we can hit done, and then we can hit save and apply over there, and now Migrate will go through and it'll try and find everything in the document that applies to that 24-point bolded font and is annotating it as our top level heading. So If we go over, it is applied in white, so that means that it has worked and it has picked up this properly. So that was nice and easy for us to get as well. Next thing, we have our bulleted list, which has been picked up twice. Those have just been preceded by a bullet. And our ordered list is only being picked up 4 times in this ordered list, so it's not picking up our table. That's okay. What I did to try and make that work is I have stripped the table, and then I can delete the table numbers. So that's what these 2 rules at the bottom here do, is just get the table out of the way and then delete these numbers on the left-hand side. And then in our ordered list rule, I can just add a little thing over here and say that anything with a column position of 2 and save and apply, and then those should be picked up as our step content or our ordered list content as well. So we'll go and check that that did apply, and it is applied 7 times. So we did pick these up, and we will go over to the DITA in a little bit just to make sure that all of that did apply. So lastly in this document, we do have our UI controls that we put at the very bottom. And that was a very easy rule for us to set up. It was very quick, very simple for us to get all of this working. What I found was that they were all bolded, and they either had a click in front of it or this greater than sign. So that's how we found it, and then we just add it with these 2 annotations over here, and then I removed the separators, these greater than signs. So now that this rule set has been changed so that it can also be used on this document as well, let's go over to the DITA and we'll just make sure that it is correct as well. So we can close our rules editor here, and then we can go back to our documents tab. What I like to do is just multi-select them, so you can hit them on the bubbles here, and then over on the right you can hit convert. So that does take a couple minutes for it to convert over, and then you can download it to your desktop, but I personally have already got them downloaded so that we can look through them without waiting for it. So let's first look at the DITA map for our ActiveX first document there. So as we can see, in this, everything has nested properly. So we've got our first level topic, our second level topic, and our third, and those have all nested properly. What we also need is our external functions library has our ordered list and our 2 sections in there. Our code has been picked up, and there's, let's just look at this as well. We've got our step commands as well, and those have been picked up and then generated using DITA. So you can see that in the author, and you can also see that in our steps over here as well. So now we can go and look at our second one and our batch compiler one, and let's just first look at our map here. So we can see that all of these have been picked up as well. Specifically, what wasn't being picked up before was that this top level about batch compiler was not being a part of the DITA output. So now that it is in there, we can see that it's there, and it has been nested properly. We've got our first, second, and third levels, and all the rest of them have been picked up properly. Our table ordered list was in our, including this one here. So as you can see, we have gotten rid of the table. It's might be easier to see in the author. window, but in this one you can see that it has been picked up, our table is gone, and it is just our ordered level content. And if you want to see in the text as well, we've got our ordered list as well as our code as well. We have, if we want to look, our steps are also good. So if we want to look over here, we have our running one, and again, those have just been picked up. We have our steps being picked up properly as well for that one. And then last but not least, let's go over and we can look at our UI controls. So again, that was just a quick thing to add in and try and make sure that everything was working properly. So as you can see, we have our menu cascade and our UI controls picked up properly and in this nice little nesting circuit here that we have, as well as the rest of them have been picked up as UI controls, and you can also see that in the author. So I'm going to head back over to my PowerPoint. We'll go back to some closing remarks here. So Migrate is all about making life easier for the subject matter expert. You can decide what documents to convert on demand with immediate results. You can schedule your conversion jobs around your personal production workloads. You avoid the time and cost associated with going back and forth with your conversion partners, greatly reduce your manual pre and post conversion, clean up through our advanced automation, just as the examples that I had listed before. And again, it is pay as you use, risk-free and fully supported. So it's all about placing your users in control. So I'd like to thank you all for your time. The presentation for me is done, and I'll hand it back over to Brian. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the excellent presentation, Jacob. So Helen's going to be reading through the questions. And so if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, please write them now into the Q&A panel. And while she's reading through the questions, I'm just going to go over a couple of events that are upcoming. So one of the events that's not showing is going to be our next webinar. So that's going to be on October 11th at noon Eastern time. So Helen's going to be giving a CIDM presentation titled Semantic Markup, Why Do I Need It and How Do I Do It? And then October 23rd to 26th, we'll be exhibiting at Lavicon in New Orleans. So please make sure to drop by and visit us. I'll be there along with Helen, TJ, and our CTO, Jackson Klein. And then to wrap up the year, we'll be exhibiting at Convex Europe in Rotterdam, Netherlands, and that's going to be on November 14th and 15th. And hopefully at this point, Helen's had a good chance to read through some of the questions, so I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic over to her.
Okay, thanks, Brian. I hope you can all hear me. We just have a couple of questions. So the first question is, can you handle multiple languages in your software? And the answer to that is yes, absolutely, we can. We can handle all kinds of languages and alphabets. So any of the Asian languages, Russian, any of the Eastern European languages, Greek, all of those we can handle quite easily. And we have done quite a lot of work in with documents that contain multiple languages. And I just have one other question, and that is about the level of security with the portal, given that it's in the cloud portal. And for some people, of course, this is an important question. So what we found is we do have a standard level of security that meets most people's needs. So it is a secure portal, limited access to people on our side, and of course, your own private login and so on. There are various other things that we can do to make it extra secure for you. And I know that Brian has gotten really good at going through all kinds of security questions and answers to make sure that we do meet some quite strict requirements that you might have. And ultimately, if that still doesn't quite meet everything you need, we do have the option of installing on premises for you. That's a bit of a bigger undertaking, but it is, of course, a little bit more secure. So that is it for the questions, unless somebody has one that they would like to type in very quickly.
Yeah, so if you weren't able to get your question sent in, feel free to email us. And maybe just to add to that last question, Helen, we're also going through the ISO 27001 certification and 9001. So we plan to be certified through those standards by the end of the year. Yeah, so I guess that concludes our webinar. So thank you everyone for attending, and we hope to speak with you all soon. So goodbye for now.